havoc death. No alliance, safe from Zolkon's breath. Gears grind, sparks fly, crushing all his foes. Metallic terror where the cold wind blows. Giants roar thunder in a land of dirt and wonder. Electric dreams of battle games. Robot lions play their names. Metal claws against the storm. Flashing lights, the beast is born. Metal soldiers fight unseen through a world of shattered dreams. Zoids arise, metal beasts awake. Fight the dark in a world that's fake. Zoids arise, you've got to break. Free from chains in this empty wake. In the shadows lurk the fate. Gears are grinding, sealing hate. Reclaim the land with iron hands. Through these fields of battered sands. Pulsing veins of oil and steel. Synthetic blood you cannot feel. March together in the night. Echoes scream of the endless fight. Rise from metal graves so cold. Stories of the battles bold. Glorious in the clean light. Zoids reflect on primal light. Deep in the shadows like piercing through. Renegades want to awaken, still on to new. Planet Zoidstar rolls engines ignite. Crocs, evil shadows loom. We're ready to fight. Metal warriors forged in fire and steel. Battle on covers, feel the power real. Darkness falls as we stand side by side. United we'll crush evil, watch it collide. We're renegades, engines of might. Shatter the darkness with beams of light. Planet Zoidstar rise, fight for what's right. Against Clark's shadow we'll ignite. Cross the prince of darkness, move back down. United Zoid army, they circle around. When we are the storm, the lightning in the night. The renegade Zoidstar's hearts burning bright. Beyond the stars where the shadows lie, we stand on broken wings up to the sky. Feel the power surge in metal veins. Together we conquer, breaking all chains. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. We're renegades, engines of might. Shatter the darkness with beams of light. Planet Zoidstar rise, fight for what's right. Against the shadow we ignite. We're renegades, engines of might. Shatter the darkness with beams of light. Planet Zoidstar rise, fight for what's right. Against the shadow we ignite. We ignite. Darkness won't back down. Not a vengeance dark shadow will ignite, roaring against engines of light. Shatter the darkness with beams of light. Burning Zoidstar light, fight for what's right. Against dark shadow we ignite, we ignite. Renegades and engines of light. Shatter the darkness with beams of light. Burning Zoidstar light, fight for what's right. Against dark shadow we ignite. Renegades, Zoidstar's hearts burning right. Beyond the stars where the shadows lie, we stand on broken wings up to the sky. Feel the power surge in metal veins. Together we conquer, breaking all chains.